Dusk is quite possibly one of the best first-person shooters I've ever played. Yeah, that's right, we're coming out swinging this month. Dusk is a supernatural horror-themed throwback first-person shooter developed by David Szymanski, published under New Blood Interactive with music by heavy metal wasteman druid Andrew Hulshult. Released in 2018, it was one of the games that kicked off the boomer shooter renaissance we are currently living through, and for good reason too. It's amazing. It takes ideas that were previously established in the FPS genre and its nature as a throwback to subvert your expectations and deliver an experience that you just can't stop playing. You play as the Dusk Dude, a treasure hunter who finds himself in captivity of an evil cult on the outskirts of the fictional American northeastern town of Dusk, both of which are under the control of a mysterious man named Caleb. What does he do? Breaks out of captivity, kills the cultists holding him with the same meat hooks they strung him up on, and proceeds to rampage through them Sterling Archer style. It's not much, but it's the kind of in media res storytelling that I fucking love. From there, you go through 3 episodes of cultist killing, boom shooty goodness. But this isn't all that's there. It's the base, but it changes. More on that later. I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. The first episode of Dusk, while fucking awesome, is the weakest episode of Dusk. But that's primarily because it's the baseline, the foundation upon which the blood-stained church is built, if that makes any sense. But for the purposes of this video and discussion, I'm sticking with the first episode because even though I've finished episode 2, I've not touched episode 3 yet. Also, I want to not spoil those because those have some of the best stuff in the game in them. But as I was saying, even though it's the weakest part of the game, Dusk's first episode is a great example of an introduction to a game in all facets. I'm talking about level design, pacing, placements of secrets, layouts of enemies, and encounter designs. All of it is just so meticulous with how well it's done that I'll be here all day talking about it if I don't move on. And a good chunk of this is based on the tone set in the first episode. The abandoned town of Dusk and its surrounding countryside effortlessly evokes a strong atmosphere of backwoods horror in the same vein as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or, to keep it in the realm of video games, Resident Evil 7. Hooded cultists brandishing chainsaws and magic in equal measures, demonic goat creatures known as the Black Phillips, and demonically possessed scarecrows and soldiers are just some of the obstacles that you need to overcome. The most horrifying of them, for me, being the Fork Maidens. Reanimated corpses of slain women whose blood-stained dresses, pearl necklaces, and decayed straw hats all come together to make something truly terrifying. There's more to get into touch with, but I'm leaving it there for now because some of the shit you see later deserves to stay spoiler-free. And this, for me, might be the one game that makes the argument of low-poly graphics in games serving as a legitimate aesthetic style in the same way that pixel art has become in the last 10 to 15 years. Because all of what I described would not even be half as terrifying if they were sleek and polished to a mirror shine. It lets the game convey a sense of filth and grit that sees the backwoods horror of Dusk played out to perfection. But you play as a one-man army, and the Dusk Dude, he doesn't give a shit about any of what I just said. He just wants to rip and tear through all the goddamn cultists, and I could not agree more. To do this, you're gonna need to track down an incredibly bitchin' arsenal of weaponry. Starting with a pair of aforementioned rusty sickles that you find in the basement to fight off your captors, you then go on to find a pistol that can eventually be dual-wielded. From there, you find a trusty shotgun, and you're in business. Then, you can find a second shotgun, and you can dual-wield shotguns. And the way you fire said shotguns is in that sick way that Arnold fired his shotgun in Terminator 2. You know, the one where he almost broke his hand in the process of doing? Yep, you do it like that, and it's fucking rad. After that, you get your hands on a super shotgun that more than lives up to its name. A pretty decent assault rifle, a hunting rifle that is your super effective long-range armament, balanced by keeping ammo scarce for it, which is a good thing, a crossbow that can shoot through walls and over-penetrate targets, and a cannonball-firing mortar that serves as the rocket launcher of the game. And then there are the hidden weapons of the sword, which, when you max out your health, you do increased damage with a stabbing attack and can block attacks with your morale, which is basically the game's armor system, and the Riveter. Let me tell you about the motherfucking Riveter, friends. The Riveter is the most powerful weapon in the game, and like the sword, can only be attained through secret hunting. This is because this thing is like the BFG in Doom. You fire out explosive rivers of destruction that can pretty much one- or two-shot enemies you shoot it at, making it the go-to weapon for boss fights. All of these combined with the enemy encounters laid out in episode 1 of Dusk showcase how the game subverts your expectations. The enemies are constantly having you to swap weapons as needed for the right situations, and this can get a bit hectic in major set-piece battles in Dusk. These fights are big, multi-stage affairs that start with you ambushing or getting ambushed, and it goes a long way to keep you on your toes the entire time. I fucking love it to goddamn pieces. Lastly, I want to talk about the music in Dusk. As I mentioned at the start of this piece, it was composed by metal maestro residing in Trash Can, Andrew Hulshult. He's known for providing soundtracks and musical work in other games in the genre, such as A Medieval, the remade soundtrack for Brutal Doom, the Rise of the Triad remake in 2013, the early access title Wrath and Ruin, Nightmare Reaper, Quake Champions, Proteus, and a little indie project you may have heard of by the name of, The Ancient Gods Duality in Doom Eternal. Based on the stuff that he's done before and since then, you can see where Dusk's roots and eventual fruit would come from. But I would dare say that Dusk is Mr. Hulshult's magnum opus. It's the binding agent that ties the entire game together, giving the head-banging, heart-pumping riffs that a game in this genre demands, nay, requires, but also providing a nice, ambient, atmospheric set of tracks that succeed at creating a thick air of dread throughout the entire experience, and it's just mwah! It's up there these days with some of Mick Gordon's work on Wolfenstein and Doom, and that's the highest praise I can offer someone music-wise. Hell, I was listening to it while writing this script. That's how much I love it. Dusk is the perfect package of a first-person shooter, nay, a video game. And I mean this 100%. I'm absolutely upset at myself for hesitating on pulling the trigger on this game sooner, because not only did I get more than my money's worth, I got probably one of my new favorite games possibly ever. And all I can say is, fuck yes, and thank you, David Szymanski. You too, Andrew Hulshult. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go play more Dusk. Okay, actually one last thing, then I can let you go. I love how the URL for New Blood's publisher page on Steam is wehate.money. It's fucking great. And that would be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like it if you did. Don't forget to also share it if you really liked it. And also, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.